Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The decade-long insurgence in the northeast of Nigeria has progressively brought all development efforts to a standstill. Now, to compound the situation, existing infrastructure has suffered utter neglect. Education has been the hardest hit, in line with terrorist group Boko Haram's objective of destroying everything that supports the teaching and learning of Western education. But recent reports coming out of Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, which has been the epicenter of the insurgency, has spoken about steps being taken by the state government to rehabilitate an education system that has been comatose for a long time, as well as other efforts at infrastructure development in the face of clear and present danger. To look more closely at this issue, we are now being joined by Gusau, Special Lieutenant Kashim Shettima on communication and strategy. Welcome to the show, Mr. Gusau. Great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Well, this is a laudable step by the government. It runs counter to the ideology of the Boko Haram sect, which says Western education is sin. You know, we commend him for that. But what are the measures in place to ensure that these new structures he's putting up are secured? I mean, just barely 2 weeks ago, we had bandits attacking a school in Zamfara. What are the security measures in place?
First of all, I would apologize that there are certain measures being taken that I wouldn't want to divulge, because when you do that, you are more or less telling the Boko Haram to anticipate the strategies that you're taking. But part of what the governor has done that I can disclose is that the state government has gone into some immediate collaboration with the Nigerian police and then the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps and our youth volunteers that are called the civilian JTF. As we speak, most of these schools are actually being secured by particularly the civil defense and the civilian JTF. But apart from that, there's a permanent measure that is being worked out, and in the next few weeks that will be made public. I don't want to preempt the governor, but I know that there's a permanent step that he's already taken. We will make that public in the next 2 weeks.
We know that the president commissioned some schools before he proceeded on his last foreign private trip. But can you tell us how many schools are we looking at that the government in Borno has put up in recent times?
First of all, I would say that even before going into this set of schools that we call mega schools, from 2011, I would say that more than 550 primary schools were all renovated by the governor, in addition to about 80 secondary schools. Unfortunately, a number of these schools were destroyed after they were fixed. But now, talking about the mega schools, they are 44 in number, and then most of them have boarding facilities. And the whole idea of the mega school system is to accommodate more than 50,000 children whose parents were killed by the Boko Haram. Most of these children are unaccompanied. Most of them don't even know how to trace their relations. So the governor thought that, as to use his words, if we don't take care of these young orphans, they would eventually take care of us. And then you need to break the objective of the Boko Haram. The whole objective of the Boko Haram in the first place, of most of these children were abducted. Some of them, their parents were killed, in their presence. The whole idea of the Boko Haram was to make sure that these children do not continue their education, so that they'll probably grow up with the Boko Haram ideology. So the governor thought that, look, let's break the heart of the Boko Haram by educating these children. So the idea of the boarding system is to provide permanent accommodation for these children, at the same time give them the best of accommodation. These schools are 44 in number. They are spread across the state, but about 24 of them are located in Maiduguri for a very good reason. Majority of these boys, like I said, don't have parents. They don't have even relations. So the governor felt that they needed to be kept within Maiduguri, not far from the government, so that there will be adequate supervision, on their welfare. I would prefer to extend an invitation to Arise crew to come and see this school, because if I am to tell you the features of this school, you might think it's unbelievable. But when you see the schools, you can compare them with some of the best schools you see in Abuja. They are of international standard. The one with the lowest capacity is the one that can accommodate 960 pupils. The majority of them accommodate between 2,400 to 4,008. That's for 2 sessions. They are 48 in numbers spread across the school, just like I've said, and they have the best facilities. Already, the governor has already given given approval for the employment of 1,000 teachers. They are passing through the last phase of their recruitment, 1,000 permanent teachers and 1,000 volunteers. That's a total of 2,000 teachers will be coming on stream, mostly for the schools. But now the governor wants the schools to be models for other schools in the state. So that's why he's taking a lot of measures that will ensure that even the teaching, there are some technology, there are digital aids that are installed in all the schools that we call Kayan technology. The whole aim is to completely transform the primary education system. But because like the governor said, one of the major problems of public education in Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria, has been the less focus on primary education. Most of the time, primary schools are treated as if they don't matter at all. And then that is the foundation. When you give a child a very solid foundation at the primary level, he or she is likely to do well, growing up. So that's the whole idea.
Yes, well, I mean, interesting things going on in Borno State. Clearly, Governor Kashim Shettima is trying to push back. But can you give us a sense of the security dimension to all of this? You will recall that, in January, we were told that, the governor broke down in tears when he visited the president in Abuja. And as recently as, is it March or February, his own convoy was attacked by the Boko Haram. Now, is there any strategy for ensuring the security of the lives of teachers and students? And secondly, is there also another strategy for promoting or ensuring school enrollment, pupils enrollment in these schools, given the population of out-of-school children in Borno State alone?
Yeah, a lot of steps have been taken. Like I said from the beginning, unfortunately, you know more than myself that there are certain security steps that one cannot divulge, in the media. But I will tell you that very serious steps are taken. And, the Boko Haram thrives on propaganda. They would always want to carry out an attack just to prove to the jihadist community that they are in existence. But I will tell you that if the situation hadn't been improving, the governor would be the first to come out and say, you know him, he's a very patient person, he takes his time to talk, but he would not be a coward that would die in silence, if the situation is not improving. The fact of the matter is that there is a significant improvement in terms of security, and I know that there are some concrete measures being taken. I know some of them, they are really bold. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to discuss them, in the public. And then with regards to the strategies you talked about in terms of enrollment, the beauty of these schools is that as we speak, some parents are even thinking about moving their children from private schools to these schools, because these schools, they are world class, Mr. Ruben. I would extend you an open invitation to come to Maiduguri and and see this thing for yourself. They are world class. The schools are enough to market themselves, and they are already marketing themselves. There was a committee set up by the governor in November. The committee was given the mandate of coming up with all kinds of strategies, and and they have the best minds, including Dr. Mero Mandara, that people with impeccable credentials are part of that committee. They have come up with very beautiful strategies in terms of the school enrollment. Even the enrollment is being done online. Right now, we have more number of children, compared to the number of schools available. The schools, like I said, are meant for about 50,000 children, and the target are unaccompanied orphans. But the governor felt that, look, when we isolate the orphans in these schools, they may grow up with low self-esteem. So the strategy, as the committee suggested, was to pick a proportion a number of students from the host community who will be day students, so that you integrate them with the orphans, and then you'll be able to improve the self-esteem, self-confidence of the orphans, to make them not begin to think that, look, we are orphans, we have nobody. We want to eliminate that.
Well, let's step aside now away from the schools and education. We seem to be recording rising attacks in Maiduguri. What is the true situation of things? I mean, from reports we have seen, almost 20 people have been killed from Friday up till now. And we are having residents of Molai, Gajingana, and Moromti complaining that the government and security forces have been mum over the situation.
Well, if I tell you everything is okay, I'll be lying to you. There are challenges. But like I said, very bold steps are being taken. But you are dealing with an insurgent group, and if particularly a homegrown insurgent group, when you are dealing with an insurgent group, unfortunately, it is usually not a war, that you get rid of, within a short time. If you go back to the history of the Boko Haram, they have always regrouped. That has always been their strategy, and the same thing with the Taliban all over the world. They go down. I mean, we were with you when there was a global information that the leader of the ISIS was thought to have been killed, and all of a sudden, after some years, he just surfaced. That has always been the strategy of this kind of terror organizations. But we have to remain optimistic, and I know that the state government, in collaboration with the federal government, keeps reviewing our strategies, because much as you are taking steps, the Boko Haram always want to be in the news. They always want to prove to their affiliates all over the world that they are in existence. They have not been neutralized. So they would always try to pull off, one or two things. But I will tell you, much as they are doing that, I believe that the federal and the state government are collaborating with multinational organizations. Look, for every one attack that unfortunately occurs, hundreds more, may have been prevented. Unfortunately, what is more important is the security of lives. So anytime there is one attack, it sets back whatever efforts that may have been achieved in the past. But I will tell you that the strategies are there, and they will continue to be enhanced.
Isa, let me take you back to the issue of the schools. Yes, some of the schools were told are air-conditioned with modern facilities. But one of the reasons I asked the question about school enrollment is that it looks like, there is a special attempt to compel the Mboroji, or the Hamagawa, groups to send their children to school. There's also the issue of cost. Is education free in these schools as a kind of incentive to get the parents to release their children?
Primary schools is absolutely free. Not only in these schools, the governor, since 2015, the governor declared a free and compulsory education. The only reason why, in fact, the initial plan was to have a task force that would go around and be picking up any school-age child that is found on the street hawking during school hours. That was the initial plan. But then the governor, we had to do a complete reflection, and we realized that if you are before you begin to pick up these children, who didn't go to school during school hours, you must provide the schools. We realized that the schools that we had, in place were not enough to accommodate, a lot of these children. So that was why the governor embarked on massive expansion of existing schools and the construction of these 40 new ultramodern, mega schools. And I think, I do not see him being able to implement the compulsory education as he wished. Probably his successor will do that, because he's part of the government. He has been part of the administration. He knows the policy focus of the administration, and he intends to continue, in that regard, from what I have seen so far. And I will tell you that what we have in Maiduguri is not enough to accommodate the number of out-of-school children in Borno State. But it is good that already a step has been taken, and like I said, many of the existing schools have been expanded. But the concern of the governor is to take Borno away from that era where you find about 200 pupils in a class. He wants Borno to be taken back to the era of having not more than 40 per class. Because, I mean, you all know what happens in the private institutions. You cannot have 200 pupils in the primary school and expect learning to be qualitative. So that's the drive. And we know that by the special grace of God, the incoming Governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, has the same zeal. You know, like Governor Kashim Shettima, if you look at his impeccable records. And then the governor deliberately went for a professor because he wants to send a message. This is a state that has been suffering from Boko Haram attacks. And of course, we all know the ideology of the Boko Haram. And then he said, look, let's get a professor to send a message to these guys that, look, if your vision is to bring down education in Borno State, I am bringing somebody whose title alone depicts that the drive of Borno State is towards education. And I'm very optimistic that within a very short time of the coming of Professor Babagana, you are going to see an aggressive continuation of the drive in the educational sector in Borno State. Is
there any collaboration in this project between the Borno State government and any international agencies, say like UNICEF? And then is there any objection from other local governments, from other communities outside Maiduguri to the fact that these schools are concentrated in Maiduguri?
Well, like I said, half of them are in Maiduguri for a good reason. Because most of them are going to be populated by unaccompanied orphans, children whose situation was hopeless. They have nobody. Right now, they live in the IDP camps. If the governor's thinking is that if you take some of these children back to communities where their parents were killed, the trauma alone is enough to distort their education. And then having them in Maiduguri would always keep any governor and other officials on their toes, with regards to their welfare, and things like that. That is why half of them, and the interesting aspect is that even though half of the schools are located in Maiduguri, majority of these children are not from Maiduguri. I would tell you that probably, I don't think up to 1% of the children are actually, from Maiduguri, because those people who are in Maiduguri have got relations, they have got places to stay. Majority of these children are from northern Borno. More than 50% of them are actually from northern Borno. There are some from southern part of the country, southern part of the state. Majority of them do not hail from Maiduguri. And everybody knows that. They are children from the 27 local government areas. So I think the issue of location in Maiduguri is not much of an issue in Borno State. I haven't had too much of a debate about that. But I would tell you that far-reaching measures will continue to be taken. You cannot address the problem of education overnight. This is a problem that has spanned over decades. It's really, really endemic. We are coming from a situation where you'd go to a class. Look, in 2011, the governor visited a secondary school where the amount of money that was given to the school per month was, when it was divided, it came down to about 4 naira per meal per day for a child. I mean, how can a child operate like that? In most of the schools that we have now in Maiduguri, in Borno State, whether the new mega schools or the ones that are in existence, we have a policy of feeding the children a meal per day, because nutrition plays an important role, in the learning of children. And then, sorry, I didn't address the issue of for now, I am not aware of a major intervention from any of the international organizations in terms of collaboration on these schools, but I'm aware that there's one of the schools that is named after Dangote. The Borno State government fully built the school in 303, but decided to honor Dangote by naming the school. I am aware that not a few days ago, the Dangote Foundation contacted the Borno State government trying to find out how they can collaborate to support the state government in managing that school. And I know that going forward, a lot of organizations will be interested, because the most important thing is the governor needed to show his own commitment, which he has already demonstrated with the world-class infrastructures and facilities that he has put in place. And I think that is why Dangote Foundation picked interest. And we look forward to many more interests, including an interest from Ruben Abati.
Well, you can be sure of that, or you can be sure of our support. at Arise News. But, let me ask you a personal question. How do you feel? How is the job working as a special advisor to the governor in a war zone area? What are the peculiar challenges that you face as someone who has to assist the government with communication and strategy?
I think I had two advantages from start. One, I had the advantage of having many role models, of seeing Nigerians who have done exceedingly well. You may not know Mr. Ruben Abati, but I took a lot of time to study some of your strengths. I had the advantage of studying the strength of many media aides that I see as role models, and I think that has worked for me. The other side is coming, from the media. I've been a practicing journalist. I don't think any media aide in Nigeria has gotten the kind of tremendous support that I have received from journalists, particularly editors and news managers from all the media houses in Nigeria. I have gotten an overwhelming support, and it has made my job easier. Of course, there are challenges. I'm not from Borno State. You'd always have this local politics of some people being less comfortable with you because you are not from there. But I think the most important thing about this job is earning the confidence of your boss. The moment you have the confidence of the governor, and I was so lucky that, first of all, I had the confidence of the governor, but more importantly, I had the advantage of having a good product. Because no matter how good in quote you might be in terms of this job, so long as you don't have a product to market well, it's a very big problem. Governor Shettima happened to be somebody who is a brand. Who is a brand, he's intelligent, he's articulate, he's very humble. So I didn't have so much challenge. It's just like bringing an already good product to the people to buy. You're not selling a hyena in a cheap market. So I would say my job has been lessened by three factors. The role models with people like you, I've been able to learn a lot of. I've had support from the media, and I have been able to market a very good product.
Well, originally you are from Zamfara State. You're just working for the governor in Borno State. Let's talk about your state. There's been so much talks about what is responsible for the banditry in your state. I mean, in Zamfara. The government has said it's illegal mining. Others say it's ethnic, undertone that's happening. What exactly is happening in Zamfara?
I would say, with apologies, that the problem, in my opinion, is the crisis of leadership, because I had looked forward to a situation where the governor would bring together all the various components of the state, bring together the traditional rulers, bring together the miners, bring together the leadership of various bodies, come together and discuss it and come up with a common position that this is the way forward. You would recall that on different occasions, Governor Shettima had always had the need to bring together religious leaders, particularly imams, and pastors, bring them together to sit down, on the same table, and chart the way forward. He was able to inspire the civilian the youth volunteers that were called civilian JTF to get involved, in defending their territories. So a community needs to get the confidence, of the leadership, because when you have that, you have a serious problem. So I think, even though the governor has few days to go, I think it's not too late to bring together all the various components in Zamfara State, the miners, the traditional rulers, bring everybody together under one roof. Let them speak with one voice and agree that this is where the problem lies. Tell themselves, the truth. There are many instances in Borno State where the governor has had to call everybody together, excuse the media out, lock the door, and then, people tell themselves the blunt truth and say, look, the problem, Your Excellency, there are problems, there are challenges from your own side as a governor. This is what you ought to do. And he stands up and says, look, the problem, I think, beside our own side, there's a challenge with the security. You need to do this, you need to do that. You saw when the governor led a strong delegation to the president, and presented, certain demands. And I believe some of these demands, are quietly being implemented, by the president. So I would say that there needs to be an address of the issue of leadership. The governor has done well in terms of infrastructure, but I think there's a problem of confidence. And then he has allowed the politics Look, sometimes, Mr. Ruben, you must stoop low to conquer. From Kashim Shettima, I've come to realize that there is no bigger strategy in achieving anything than humility. Humility and good reasoning, for me, are the most effective strategies in leadership. From Kashim Shettima, I have seen where Kashim Shettima keeps going to someone who disagrees with him until he is able to get that person, understand his position, join his team, and and they move together. Imagine, look at the issue of even the political problem in Zamfara State. One senator is holding the entire party to ransom. Of course, you might want to blame him, but of course, you may also need to look at the issue of the governor. When there was a ruling in the favor of the governor, the governor came out and said, look, if there are some people who thought my politics is gone, now it's a proof that I'm there. To me, that depicts some level of arrogance. I don't think that helps matters.
Well,
I would encourage a lot of governors to learn from Kashim Shettima.
Yeah, thank you very much, Issa Gusau. I mean, the point is well made about leadership being very important for you to be able to ensure peace and stability. And thank you also. We've taken special note of the invitation you have extended to Arise News to come and do an independent, on-the-spot assessment of the developments, on the positive side in Borno State. Well, thank you very much, and warm regards to the governor of Borno State. And good luck with your assignment in that state. Thank you. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efene join us to review top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.